Jacksonville Jaguars lose more than a game. They might have lost their soul. I'll tell you why in just a second here on the postcast edition of Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Even on Sundays, on game day, it is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. You know where to find us at YouTube page, Locked On Jaguars, and then wherever you get your podcast. I'd like to thank and welcome you all here to a postcast. The Jaguars are in trouble. They're in trouble. Absolutely in trouble. They're 0-2. They lose the game 18-13 today against the Browns. In my opinion, they lost more than the game. Whatever they thought they were, whatever they believed they had become in the offseason, all the new parts and new additions, all the talk about bringing in leaders and guys who are used to winning and culture and all of this stuff, it went right out of the window. They lost to a team today that got blasted last week by a team that got blasted today. They lost to a team with two backup offensive tackles, and then they had to go to a backup of the backup. The official roster I had, number 65, Afidi wasn't even on it. He was a practice squad player that they elevated. But we didn't get any pressure. Trayvon, Josh got one sack. Armstead, I believe, got the other one. They should have been able to take advantage of Cleveland. Now, I know Cleveland made adjustments since last week, and they probably worked on some things. I don't care about their work. They didn't care about your work if you're the Jaguars. Doug Peterson was hot, and he should be. He should be hot with himself and Press Taylor or whoever it is that calls plays over there, because I think in the first half, they put their own team asleep. You know that little thing that plays music when a baby's in a crib? That was Doug and Press Taylor. That was them. And they put the Jaguars right asleep. They came out so freaking flat. They came out dreary, just like the weather looked today at Trevor Bank. Now, I know y'all probably don't want to hear me say that. And he didn't play that great. He missed receivers early. He was high with the ball. He missed people. But the biggest story is the story that we have had here for quite a while, and that is the offensive line. They weren't the only problem. Gabe Davis dropped some balls. You had other guys doing things. You had inopportune penalties, things that should not have occurred and should not have happened when you were getting the Browns off the field, who controlled the ball for 34 minutes today, by the way. You couldn't get them off the field on third down. Who committed 13 penalties and still won. That's how bad the Jaguars were. Cleveland gave them every single opportunity, even after they got a safety to make the game 18-13. Cleveland got the ball back and committed so many penalties, they ended up out of field goal range on a 3rd and 36. And the penalties kept stopping the clock, so the Jags didn't have to use their timeouts. It's unbelievable that even when things go wrong for the other team, you can't capitalize on it. That offensive line is in trouble. And it's a shame that a few other guys can't make mistakes. A few players can't make mistakes. And the team can't overcome it. You can't overcome it because the offensive line is terrible. This wasn't all on Luke Fortner. They were terrible. This wasn't all on Zay Jones. It wasn't all on Calvin Ridley. You changed the characters, but the play still looks the exact same way. How can you change the characters and the team look and have the same characteristics? I'll tell you how, because it wasn't just those players you got rid of that is the problem. I do not see how, unless they turn this around in a miraculous way over the next 2 weeks, I don't know how Doug Peterson survives this at all. I don't know how Trent Balkey survives this at all. We're going to start a coaching search here pretty soon. I jokingly tweeted out a picture of Bill Belichick on the phone saying, hey, big head. But it ain't just him. It might be Bobby Slovic. It might be whoever that dude is up with the Detroit Lions. It could be whatever. But I tell you what, it has to be somebody. It has to be somebody that can fix the offensive line, design competent offense, somebody who knows to go to Brian Thomas Jr. earlier than they did. He had a big play in the game. I'm going to give some attaboys real quick before I get into something that Trevor Lawrence said and that Doug Peterson said. Britton Strange, we had been looking for him with a flashlight in the daytime. Guess what? Evan Ingram is a scratch before the game started. Britton Strange has arguably one of the best games I've seen a tight end have in a long time, maybe because of where he was actually catching the football. Down the field, in the middle of the field, he was catching everything, putting out great effort. Dearness Johnson, once Tank Bigsby left the game on a play where he fumbled, they got the ball back. Dearness Johnson came in just when they needed it and gave him a little bit of extra pop. And I said to myself, I didn't have on my bingo card Dearness Johnson and Britton Strange saving this team. And then the Brian Thomas Jr. catch happened. And the Jaguars luckily got the ball into the end zone because they spend too much time getting inside of the extreme red zone. I call it inside the 5-yard line and not scoring any damn points. Or having to go for field goals. And Cam Little missed the field goal. He made 2, but he missed 1. This team is ugly. They don't play clean. They play dirty. They always look like they're scraping and scratching for something. They always appear to be just trying to, as Doug Marrone used to say, throw something against the wall to see what sticks. They have no rhyme or reason for what they do and how they do it. I'm not going to read a whole bunch of stats to y'all. Y'all don't want to hear that fluff other than the time of possession. But I said this earlier last week, and I said it on the crossover. They cannot continue to be the antibiotic or the elixir or the magic formula, the vaccine for whatever ails whoever that they play. And that's exactly who and what they are. You need to get fixed, go play Jacksonville. You need to get your mojo back, go play Jacksonville. In Jacksonville. Boo Birds at the season home opener. And the thing about it is, the last 5 quarters of football they played have been really disjointed and dirty, but yet and still they were still that close to winning the game. It says that they have some people. It says that when you play terrible and you still almost win, is that you're just missing something. It could be other players. It could really be culture. But I think there's a disconnect with the staff and the players. It looks like they don't trust each other. And that is a dangerous thing. That's why I said they lost more than the game. Whatever identity they were chasing, it is gone. They don't have that anymore. I'm going to continue with the postcast. I'm going to tell you when Trevor said we have to be honest. I'm going to tell you what he means, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. We'll do it in just a second here on the postcast edition of Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is brought to you and sponsored by Prize Picks. Man, Prize Pick is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers, man. You ain't got to worry about 20 million other people playing against you. No, it's just you against the numbers. All you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win, man. To get that $50, you just got to do exactly what I just told you. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. And today's postcast is sponsored by DoorDash. I'm hungry right now, and you know what I'm about to do? I'm going to call DoorDash because every single time I use DoorDash, right, they deliver on time. And when they bring my food, it's always hot, and I don't just get it from chain stores. Guess where else I get it from? My little favorite mom and pop stores. DoorDash will be right there and will bring you every single time because it's the best on-demand delivery platform. Whatever your best thing that you like to eat during games, even games that you lose, the food will still be good. It will still be hot with DoorDash. Use the promo code LOCKEDFALL24 for 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 plus on your first order. Limited time offer, terms apply. Promo is not valid with other orders or with orders containing alcohol. DoorDash, your door to game day greatness, your door to more. Download the DoorDash app now to order your game day favorites. Must be 21 plus to order alcohol. Drink responsibly. Alcohol available only in selected markets. All right, second half here of the postcast here today on Locked On Jaguars. The Jaguars fall 18-13 to Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns, who just a week ago looked like they could not get out of their own way, and somehow they had a good game plan. A game plan that saw them control possessions early in the game in the first half, score just about every time they got the ball, had a 90-yard drive early in the game that was about 16 plays, run pass, mixing it all up, looked very, very good, like an old Bill Walsh team where they were just throwing and dumping it off, and it looked like everything was easy. And then when the Jaguars did get a little bit tough on them and they kept committing penalties, they were still able to muster up enough of whatever they had to do to beat the Jaguars. Now, Trevor Lawrence made a statement. He said, somebody asked him, did they do anything that you didn't expect? He said, no. Their coordinator's been around for a long time doing the same stuff. He said they're pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but they just executed, and we didn't. We thought we had a good plan. I might be paraphrasing this a little bit. We thought we had a good plan coming in. Maybe the plan was good, maybe it wasn't. Now you're starting to hear people question everything. But to his credit, he did not point fingers. He pointed one right at himself. He said, it starts with me. He says every single person had a chance to make a play and they didn't do it. Everybody. He says, I did. He admitted that he overshot a couple of people, that he missed Brian Thomas Jr., who was wide open. Brian Thomas Jr., who caught the ball. They should have targeted more. He had a drop later on. Trayvon missed the sack. Trayvon, I was a little disappointed with him today because he was going against a backup and then a third string. It looks like they had a plan to not get past Deshaun Watson so that he could scramble and to try to keep him into the pocket. So it looked like they made a conscious effort to not go too wide and too loopy on their pass rushes, and they were doing a lot of bull rushes. And then the guards were pulling off, and the guards were coming back. And when Trayvon and those guys were trying to redirect, the guards were actually hitting them because they were only coming in with four people. Foye Oluokun got the other sack. It was not, I don't believe it was Eric Armstead. I remember Foye Oluokun coming on a blitz and getting a sack. The Jaguars got to figure it out, man. Trevor said we have to be honest. And if we're all being honest, this is not good. They're not good, and it's not just a personnel issue. Other than the offensive line, they've added people everywhere. They have a new scheme on defense. They ain't giving up a ton of points. I mean, they gave up 18 today. Well, really, they gave up 16 because there was a safety, and then they gave up 20 last week. So they're averaging 18 points on defense. They're not letting people run up and down the field on them, but it's just that when the game gets tight or when you really, really need them to make a stop, they don't get it. They don't get it. Or they commit a penalty, or they jump off sides. And then on the offensive side, this is a thing going on around the league, but I don't care about anybody else. It seems like people can't line up. There's a legal shift taking away a touchdown pass from Trevor Lawrence. Christian Kirk is on a milk carton. We don't know where he is. You think when you get more weapons that the guy who was your number one can at least be a good number two. Christian Kirk is missing. And Trevor Lawrence says he's a good player. We got to figure out a way to get him the ball. They also have to use Brian Thomas Jr. more. Even on deep passes, you can get them in interference. A lot of that, too, has to do with earlier the way Cleveland was playing it. The Jags were trying to loosen them up with the run, but that wasn't even working early in the game. It started working late in the game when they had a lead, and they were just making sure that they kept everything in front of them. But for the most part, when they wanted to stop the run late in the game, when the Jaguars had to go 90-some-odd yards and they wanted to get a sack, they got it. And it didn't even come from Myles Garrett. We can make excuses every single minute if we want to. The bottom line is the worst thing you can do is be searching for answers in week 2. They got to go to Buffalo and they got to go to Houston. Not saying they can't win. But what I am telling you is this. If they get to 0-4, the season's done. I think if they get to 0-4, this regime is done. Shad has spent the money. He says they got to win. Shad Khan has said already, you got to win now. We've done everything you've asked. You got to win. I don't know how good their top players are. It's so much of a disconnect. I don't know who to point to or who to blame, but what I will tell you is they are not a crisp, good football team. They show it in spurts, but that is not good enough. You have to be consistently good to compete in the NFL, and right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are nowhere near where these top teams are. They are nowhere near, and they don't look like they know how to find it, and that's the thing. Everybody talks about accountability. Trevor said, yeah, we know where the plays are, but we got to go do it. We know what we did wrong. We got to go do it. The worst thing that you can have is guys doing the best that they can, and that best isn't good enough, and they don't know how to find it. But they have done a disservice by not doing something more or doing the offensive line more correctly. They have done this team a big-time disservice. Game ball goes to Brenton Strange. That's it. That's all I got. I'm going to have a full podcast tomorrow, and it's more of a grief session. It's going to continue. We're getting back to the old stuff. But right now, the Jaguars are searching for answers, and they should be. Unfortunately for them, the answers might not be in the building. Make sure you tune in to Locked On Jaguars tomorrow and tune in to Locked On NFL, the new Locked On NFL with the Madman Tyler Rowland coming up early in the morning with a double shot of NFL Espresso, and then I'll take you to the barbershop on Locked On NFL, and we'll go through it. We'll go through it together, look around the league, and I got a feeling the Jaguars will be a part of one of those shows. You guys check us out tomorrow. Make Locked On Jaguars your first listen, Locked On NFL your second listen. Until then, we'll see you next time.